Welcome to Speak for Yourself, Marcellus Wiley and Emmanuel Acho. Button it up, huh? It's been a week since Thanksgiving. You can button up again, Acho. All right, let's get to our top story. Brought to you by Popeye's new Ocho Piece Nuggets. That's 8 for y'all. Brian Kelly caused big waves in college football when he left Notre Dame for LSU. Fighting Irish are 11-1 and are in the college football playoff picture. But the committee chairman said Kelly's absence from the team could impact their final ranking based on their protocols of a player or coach not being available. Wow, so Acho, how bad does Brian Kelly look amid the Notre Dame fallout?
Brian Kelly looks terrible, but it's only getting worse. So as I look at this Brian Kelly situation, I've realized it's almost the equivalent to throwing a game.
Okay.
Hear me when I say this. If you were to throw a game in sports, you are intentionally hurting your team's chances at advancing.
Yes.
You are intentionally hurting your team's chances at winning. That is what throwing a game is. Brian Kelly is intentionally, or at least he is cognitively, hurting Notre Dame's chances at advancing to the college football playoffs. The committee said yesterday, we factor in coach absences or player absences when we dictate who makes it into our college football playoff rankings. Well, Notre Dame's Brian Kelly, former Brian Kelly, is now going to be absent. He is cognitively hurting Notre Dame's chances at advancing to the playoffs. Thus, to me, Brian Kelly is doing what is the same thing as throwing a game. The fallout's only getting worse. So it's one thing for you to make a selfish decision and only implicate yourself, if you will. Only impact, that's the better word, yourself. Yeah. It's another thing to make a selfish decision that impacts everybody else. Here's what we all need to come to terms with. What Brian Kelly did was in the best interest of Brian Kelly, and that is A-OK. But we also need to come to terms with what Brian Kelly did was in the worst interest of about 110 Notre Dame football players, along with roughly 100 staff, give or take. Both things can be true. They are not mutually exclusive. Brian Kelly did what was best for him, and Brian Kelly did what was worse for Notre Dame. After we agree on those things, now we can have a real conversation. So what is the real conversation? The real conversation is not only did Brian Kelly mess over the players, but also he now wants to take defensive coordinator Marcus Freeman and make him the highest paid defensive coordinator at LSU, even though Freeman is supposed to be next in line to be the head coach at Notre Dame, along with the likes of maybe Luke Fickell. And Freeman is going to be the head coach of the bowl game that they're going to play in. So not only do you want to dip, but you want to dip and also empty the cupboard at the place you're leaving. So I'll end my first lap like this, and this is really my only lap of notes. After that, I'm just going to talk.
Just going to talk to your boy.
I'll look at it like this. We have all at some point in time been in a group project. Maybe high school, maybe college.
And I've been in the projects.
But we've all been in a group project.
What's up?
And if you're in a group project, it's one thing if someone in that group does not do the work. Okay, you don't want to do the work. I'm annoyed, but I understand. I will compensate for the work that you don't want to do. But it is another thing if our grade is dictated by who shows up for the project. Don't do the work, that's fine, but at least be there and I can compensate for your lack of effort in the project. But if you don't show up and our grade is dependent upon your presence, that's a whole nother thing. Brian Kelly, Notre Dame's college football playoff grade is dependent upon your presence. And not only are you saying I'm out, but your absence is dictating the placement of the Notre Dame football program.
I get it.
That I just can't sit right with. So Brian Kelly, we already know he looks bad, but I think, Sel, at this point, it just becomes worse and worse and worse.
Man, looks bad to you, and I'm on the other side looking how good this is for Brian Kelly. And obviously there's collateral damage that comes from you making a choice for you.
Of course.
I'm sure all the moves that has led to your rapid ascension to this place right here has come with some collateral damage. It's come from some guy who was saying, I work well with Acho and we were doing great together and we had our little bosom buddy. We're going to start a podcast. And then all of a sudden Acho got his own show. Acho, you got to move on, right? And they got to move on as well. Here's the thing, Acho. It's selfish. It is. But what's in common with selfish and selfless? self. Let's talk about this, because Acho, you started to make me think you hate the player when you should just hate the game. And I'm sorry, Brian Kelly just playing the game, and he's playing it well as a 5-star player. Let's talk about this. If players have skipped the bowl game and the fortunes of our team were in the hands of some of these great players of yesteryear who skipped the bowl game, how did that make them look? Okay. Well, leading the A block, but it was something of notice, right? If we take into consideration, bowl chairman, that you may be missing a coach or player, and we may use that against you, I wonder if in their bylaws, do they use it against Notre Dame also in their 3 appearances that the total score was 103-31? You know why I know they take that into account? Because Cincinnati, even though they're part of the 4 teams currently, people are poking holes at Cincinnati, say, are they really deserving of a top 4 seeding? That's the conversation. So let's not just limit this conversation to, oh, Brian Kelly left us high and dry. No, he's not the first, and because of the game that we are all playing, he won't be the last. I'm looking at this. A defensive coordinator in Freeman who may take the opportunity and go with Brian Kelly, or may stay and try to be the Notre Dame next head coach. Ain't nobody forcing you to do anything, dog. Here's an offer. Walk to it or stay still and take their offer. This whole perception that Brian Kelly and the whole universe is falling because Brian Kelly departed to a better situation for him, to me, is senseless. So I'm going to hit you with one of these Wiley-isms, okay? Do you know your vowels? You play Wheel of Fortune? You know?
Oh, yeah.
You got to say your vowels first, or T or R, S, right? Yeah. So your vowels, A, E, I, O, U, right? Let's just limit that. I came up with a Wiley-ism that I, O, U is just vowels, not vows. Like with my wife, we got vows. To death do us part. Real promises, right? But when you talk about I owe you, Brian Kelly owes somebody, those are just vows. I owe you. Lil Wayne hit me up, boy. I know that was going to be your Weezy going to use that one. That was fire. Here's the thing. I owe you Jack. Notre Dame, I owe you Jack. Y'all poached me from Cincinnati. And my grandma always say, the way you go in, baby, is the way you coming out.
Talk about it.
So if y'all Notre Dame were high and mighty when y'all went to Jack, Cincinnati to go get Brian Kelly, where's all that smoke now? As the kids say, where's that energy?
I like it. I like it. The figurative concept of Notre Dame, I don't know if they can be mad. Just the figurative concept of some school, some being, some entity. I'm not talking about Notre Dame that you can't touch.
Golden flakes and dust.
I'm not talking about that.
Okay.
I'm not talking about the big Jesus statue when you walk onto Notre Dame's campus.
I'm not
talking about that.
Oh, okay.
What I'm talking about is real people, real heartbeats, real athletes, real individuals, real human beings that were affected. I'm not talking about this concept of Notre Dame that can't be grasped. I'm talking about faces. I'm talking about names. I'm talking about quarterbacks, Jack Cohn.
Yeah.
I'm talking about star safeties. I'm talking about real humans that have laid it on the line for Brian Kelly. Brian Kelly doesn't ascend to new heights just because of Brian Kelly. Any quality coach will tell you, I am who I am because of my players.
Facts.
So these players who made Brian Kelly who Brian Kelly is are the same players that Brian Kelly is not only abandoning, but I don't mind you necessarily abandoning them. Remember, I mind the time you abandon them.
Okay.
But you're abandoning them and hurting them en route. So
talk to me.
It's one thing if you go out with your boys, big dog. You go out with your boys.
Let's go somewhere.
And you see your homeboy step out on his old lady.
What you mean? What's that mean? He already went out the house.
It's one thing.
Break it down.
You see him cheating on his old lady, right? You see
right there in the club?
Right there in the club.
What's cheating?
It's one thing if you see him doing that. He kissing up on somebody else, getting a dance
that's the
on
home
somebody,
girl.
whatever the case may be.
That's the homie.
But it's another thing if he now tries to entice you. Hey, Sal, your wife ain't gonna find out. Hey, Sal, kids ain't gonna find. Hey, Sal,
MJ,
it's all good. MJ ain't gonna find out. Just step out too. I already did it. That's what Brian Kelly's doing.
Damn,
he already stepped out on Notre Dame. Hey, Freeman, it's all good, big dog. They gonna be. Forget them kids.
What it look like?
They gonna be all right.
Freeman, like what it look like?
It's nice down here in Baton Rouge.
Freeman, like what it do?
It's an even worse look, Sal, because that's where Brian Kelly is. I agree with you.
I hope
that Brian Kelly is doing what's best for him. I preface with that. Brian Kelly's doing what's best for him.
Good.
But there's another layer there.
Okay.
Not only is there some damage, but can we at least acknowledge the damage.
Nobody
even wants to acknowledge the fact that he left 100 kids out to dry.
100 kids?
Yeah, student athletes.
Hey, you see them boys another day. You went to University of Texas, you know about this. To me, it was like eye-opening. There ain't no kids. First of all, if you're going to Notre Dame, you're going to Texas, and you 18 years old, you're 6'6", 330.
You can have all the muscles in the world and still be a child.
Yeah. Well, and you could be old as hell and still be acting like a kid. So guess what? I'm going to leave an adult. I ain't got time to be figuring out your real brain age. Look, you know the game. If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. You just came up here and lied. Talking about Notre Dame's quarterback, Jack Cohn, right? That's not Notre Dame's quarterback. That was Wisconsin's quarterback. Where'd he go? What? He left Wisconsin high and dry. We had hopes of you.
No, got benched, Sel.
Hey, man. And I forgot, in today's times, when you tell somebody you're not good enough, keep working, you know what they do? They leave. And this is part of the problem. We're going to talk about this. What's the real issues and layers of going on in college football right now that is allowing all these coaches to just make different moves and this coaching carousel. College football just looks a little different from the top down. I respect all that. So I'm going to save some of that for that. But come on, man. You're trying to preach loyalty to a group of guys who their whole mindset, their collective mindset is, as soon as I get good enough to get up out of here, I'm out of here. And and some of them take that for their career. Hey, coach, I'm staying all 4 years. Junior year All-American. Oh, coach, me and the family need this. I respect that. Then you get into a situation where some of these guys don't even finish the year, Acho. They don't even play in the bowl games. But now you're going to look at Brian Kelly and try to hang him out to dry like all the other players and others do it as well.
I'm not preaching loyalty. I'm preaching timing, and I'm preaching optics. I can also say this much. I do not know of any college football player, at least off the top of my head, that sat out of a playoff game. I'll wait on a producer. I'll wait on a stat guy. I'll wait on you. I'll wait on y'all at home.
Bowl games, but not playoffs.
I can't think of.
But they're not in the playoffs right now. They're 6.
Sure, then let's let it play out. Remember, Sal,
you can't let it play out.
2 years ago, when Bama was playing Michigan in the bowl game, this would have been Jerry Judy's senior year.
Okay.
Jerry Jeudy, he was going to be a top pick. He ends up playing in a bowl game. I'm like, hey, big dog, you was going to be a first-round pick. Why are you playing a meaningless bowl game? Y'all didn't even make the playoff. He was like, man, I've been with my team this long. Why would I leave him right now? But don't even talk about Jerry Jeudy. I can't think of one college football player that did not play in the playoff game.
So you don't
Brian
know
Kelly.
You don't know a pioneer yet.
All Brian Kelly has to do. I don't know of anybody that selfish yet. That's what I don't know.
Selfish.
It is selfish because you work for this moment. You work to go to the chip. You work to go to the playoffs. Brian Kelly said all he had to do was wait about 4 more days.
You can't wait. I love you.
Nobody's getting that job. Guess what? They wanted to give it to Lincoln. And Lincoln said no.
Yeah.
So Brian Kelly.
Because he took yes. He didn't say no. Absolutely. He said no to you, yes to them. At the same time. So you keep saying the timing. The timing was the same. No to you, yes to you. I'm going out. I'm leaving Oklahoma. I'm just not going to LSU. I'm going to USC. Don't do that to this man, Brian Kelly. Let's talk about it. Why he has to leave right now. You think he's not forced? You don't think there's a gun to his head called the early signing period that's forced in his hand? He knows if he doesn't get a jump start on recruiting as the coach of LSU, this year's a wash. And last time he checked at LSU, you can win a national championship the next year, and then the next year you're gone. So he knows I ain't got that much runway. Y'all can talk about my contract and my terms. They will buy you out. They bought out Ed Orgeron and said, peace out, Mr. Louisiana. Ed Orgeron is from there, and look how they treated him. You think that Brian Kelly is sitting there believing that?
And you know this.
Say it again?
Coach O did that to himself.
And you don't think that the personality of Brian Kelly could do it to himself? He's already went through the rigors. At Notre Dame, there was conversation. Hey, calm down on the sidelines, big dog. You know where you are. He's already had the, as I call, the double tap before, which is like everything you're doing is not kosher. And he won the most games in Notre Dame history. He won the most games of any coach there. Lou Holtz, Newt Rockman, all these coaches, and still no chips. He realizes there's levels in greatness, and he just went to a higher level within that top level of greatness.
Again, I'm not mad at him.
And he had to do it now.
He didn't have to do it now. Because I look at it like this, and you said something, that either the LSU players and LSU future was going to be screwed, or the Notre Dame players and the Notre Dame past and present was going to be screwed. So I remember sitting in a church service one time, maybe 5-10 years ago, and the pastor told me that, like, sometimes that he will be cold to strangers that are of the opposite sex. They'll meet him. Oh my gosh, so great to meet you. Da, da, da. And he'll be cold to them.
Scared.
And oftentimes they will retaliate like, hey, why were you being so mean? And he was like, I'd choose to be cold because if I'm going to err on one side, I would rather offend a stranger than offend my wife. I would rather offend someone I don't know than offend someone that I'm actually do know that has served me and I've served for a long period of time. If someone was going to catch a temporary L, like the stranger who came up to my pastor in this story, then let the person who's going to catch the temporary L be the program you don't know in LSU, as opposed to the program that has spent the last 4 years talking about the seniors, 5 years the redshirt seniors, 3 years the juniors that may depart early, the team that you actually have poured into you, and most importantly, you have poured into. Because we know this, it's a bad situation for everybody but Brian Kelly and everybody but LSU. It's a bad situation but him and them. But if you got to offend somebody, and somebody's going to be offended, because to your point, there's no right time to give wrong news, but there's a better time to give wrong news. All I'm looking for is the better time. Not the right time, but the better time.
No. See, you're being aspirational, which what I love about you. Like, quiet times for me, and I reflect and, the show and what we talk about. And it's therapeutic at times. And I'm like, this dude really believes the stuff he says. And that's aspirational to me. Because you know me, I'm on the other side. Like, man, nobody give a damn about all that. And I respect you for saying what you're saying. But then every time we talk, I always end with this. I'm like, what you feel and what I feel should be mapped onto reality, right? So you feel that this is the wrong time. I feel it's the right time. I'm not saying I'm right, but let's just see what reality says. Did Malachi Nelson decommit from Oklahoma University a couple of days ago as soon as Lincoln Riley said he was out?
Yes, University of Oklahoma.
Yeah, University of Oklahoma. Yeah, you did. Did he just commit again to another school? Yes, he did. Oh, Malachi, let me text him real quick. No, let me call him. We on the air right there. Nobody will be worried. Malachi. Your boy, that dude. What's up? Onk. Everybody already calls Onk. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll see you later. 10 minutes. You know why? Only 10 minutes? He down the street. He already committed to USC that fast. You know who knows that? Brian Kelly. He like, dog, I got to get to LSU. You know why? Because some of these cats may try to decommit. Some of these cats may try to commit. All I know is I need to be present to where this is all going to happen. So Lincoln Riley just gave you the example of why the timing matters. The reality is these five-star recruits are telling you it has to happen, and it has to happen right now. My last thing is to talk to your pastor, your scared-ass pastor 5-10 years ago. Let me stop. I respect that man in the Lord. Here's the thing, though. I learned through my levels of faithfulness, because I started off, had to learn the hard way when I got cheated on. I was like, oh, that's how we play relationships? Got cheated on. My first girlfriend cheated on me. She go, oh. But you learn through levels of faithfulness. One, there's a level like of avoidance. Just, I ain't going nowhere. Because, man, I don't trust myself being real. You try to act like, oh, ain't nothing out there. That's what you tell your boys and you tell everybody. The truth is, you ain't strong enough to deal with it. When you get to a point where you see the fire, and you can play with the fire but not get burned by the fire, to me, that's the ultimate level of strength. In this situation, if you're Brian Kelly, he knew I was with Notre Dame and we were warm. We were close. We made the college football playoffs. But damn, can you turn the thermostat up? Can you get this a little hotter? Like Bama? Like Clemson? Nah, that's all we got. 103-31 was the final scores. Those temperatures, not good enough for him. He went somewhere where it was hotter. He went somewhere that was better.
So, Sel, the issue at hand, at least, let's start here. Let's end here. Let's end it. Knowing that Brian Kelly's departure will diminish and decrease Notre Dame's chances at making the playoffs. Just off the committee saying, hey, if a coach leaves, then we do not rate you as highly. Doesn't mean anything to you.
No, you know why? It's like Uno, dog. Like, we started off, you played Uno old school, right? Draw fours, draw twos. Then they came out with these new Uno cards, blank. New Uno cards, you can write whatever you want it to be. Like, that's the rules now. Like, when you playing old school Uno in college football, it's new school now, dog. These transfer portal changed everything. You tell Jack Cohn, hey, man, your second team for this week, work your way back to first team. He ain't gonna work his way back. He gonna transfer on you. So if the players are gonna leave, why can't the coaches leave? I thought we all on the same team.
Nobody leaves right now. So we coming back to this? We doing this topic
again? Yeah, let's do this again, because I can see it right now. Yeah. Your pastor said we got to talk some more about this. So coming up, the Seahawks are looking for a do-over this season. Maybe I converted you to the dark side. We'll tell you what happened to Russell Wilson. But first, the Cowboys are on a 2-game it. We'll tell you if Dak Prescott is good enough to carry Dallas. Next on Speak for Yourself. Welcome to the Heartless Side.
Now this week, Thursday Night Football, Dak Prescott leads the NFC East, leading Cowboys against the Saints. It all kicks off tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on Fox NFL Network and streaming on video. Now, speaking of that game, boy, the Cowboys been struggling, y'all. They lost 3 of the last 4, and they get ready to play the Saints. They'll be without head coach Mike McCarthy due to COVID, but Amari Cooper, he's expected to be back. Now, Dak Prescott says the need for a win is urgent and added that this is a team that's hungry and pissed off, close quote. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on television.
You just said, and talking about your pastor. Forget that.
It was not me. I had to read it. Dak Prescott said
I told you I brought him to the dark side, to the heartless side.
I'll take extra communion after this show. So, Sal,
what?
Is Dak Prescott good enough to carry the Cowboys?
Is that a question? You know the
Serious
answer.
question.
Serious question?
I can't wait for this one. Go ahead, sir.
Or you can't wait. It's right here. You ain't got to wait. Absolutely yes.
Okay, sorry.
You're really being rude. I brought you too far into the dark side. Go back to Acho's side, damn it. Oh, let's play a little game that I'm going to call fun fact trivia. All right, Acho, come on, let's play a game right here. Name the quarterback that has a better completion percentage than Tom Brady, who's great, Aaron Rodgers, who's great, and Patrick Mahomes, who hasn't been playing great this entire season, but you still think is the best quarterback in the league. Name that quarterback.
Mac Jones?
Oh, survey says Dak. Okay, let's talk about who has more yards per game than that same great MVP, Aaron Rodgers. Your boy, Patrick Mahomes, and front runner for MVP, if healthy, Kyler Murray. Who has more yards per game? Anybody? Acho?
Tom Brady.
Survey says Dak. Okay. Oh, who has my favorite stat? Passer rating better than Tom Brady and that
Take
same
me off
Patrick
camera
Mahomes.
while I talk.
Oh, you want to go commercial already? You know the answer, damn it. It's Dak Prescott. So is Tom Brady good enough to carry the Bucs? Patrick Mahomes good enough to carry the... Aaron Rodgers good enough to carry the... Kyler Murray good enough to carry... Yeah. One more yes. Yes. Dak Prescott. You got to remember at the top tier in terms of the teams this year, NFC, AFC, NFL at large, they're all circling each other. They're all doing this dance that I can be beaten, but I also can beat you. And Dak Prescott has shown, as he's on pace right now to have career highs in all major statistical categories, that he's one of those guys. He's one of those made men. So you talking about waiting. I'm waiting to hear the opposite, the contrary argument to why Dak Prescott's not good enough.
I got you, Sal, and this might be my best block, so y'all buckle up.
Let's go.
Dak is not good enough to carry the Cowboys. This is not an opinion. This is actually a fact. But let's talk about what does carrying look like. What is carrying a team? Carrying a team looks like Aaron Rodgers being 7-0 without Davante Adams since 2019. Carrying a team looks like Aaron Rodgers going to Arizona without 3 of his top 4 wide receivers, without his top left tackle, top cornerback, without his center, and beating an Arizona Cardinals team on a short week. That's what carrying looks like. Carrying looks like Tom Brady being 4-2 without Rob Gronkowski. That's what carrying looks like. Let's talk about what carrying does not look like.
Okay.
Carrying does not look like Matthew Stafford being 0-2 without Robert Woods. Carrying a team does not look like Ryan Tannehill being 2-2 without Derrick Henry. That's what carrying does not look like. You have Matthew Stafford, Ryan Tannehill. They're not carrying a team without one of their top 2 offensive weapons. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, they did carry a team. Tom Brady 4-2 without Gronk. Aaron Rodgers 7-0 without Davante Adams. They did carry a team without their top weapons. So where does Dak Prescott fall? Dak Prescott's 0-2 without Amari Cooper and without CeeDee Lamb for a half. Dak Prescott has lost 3 of his last 4 games, including 2 of those games at home. So if we want to identify what carrying a team does look like, that's Tom Brady without first ballot Hall of Famer Gronk. That's Aaron Rodgers without what will be first ballot Hall of Famer Davante Adams, assuming he continues this trajectory. Dak Prescott doesn't look like that. The Cowboys don't look like that. The Cowboys and Dak Prescott look more like Matthew Stafford without Robert Woods 0-2. They look more like the Tennessee Titans and Ryan Tannehill without Derrick Henry 2-2. So I'm looking at, can Dak Prescott carry this team very objectively, not subject to my interpretation, not subject to your interpretation, but objectively based on the facts. And the facts are, without Amari Cooper, without CeeDee Lamb, Cowboys are 0-2. With an injured Tyron Smith and no Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys have lost 3 of their last 4. Dak Prescott has lost 3 of his last 4 since the bye week. He can't carry the team. And it's no indictment Tannehill can't carry a team. Matthew Stafford, he might be a Hall of Famer. He can't carry his team. It's no indictment. Russell Wilson right now, he can't carry his team. It's not an indictment. It's just a reality. Cowboys fans come to terms with that reality. Dak Prescott alone can't carry this team.
Strong, man. I shouldn't challenge you. That was strong. Good Lord. I don't know if you used to watch the old school Cosby show where they used to have this time on there where Mr. Huxtable, I say, character, used to say, challenge. We got a challenge going on right here. Tell me if this is carrying a team. What is Dak Prescott in charge of? The offense, right? What is he in charge of?
Yeah, the quarterback's the team.
Quarterback's the team. Yeah, but I mean the defense. I mean, what can I do with you guys? I can set you up, but you got to go out there and do your job, do your thing. So if Dak's primary responsibility is just get points, right? Set up the offense, right? And then help the defense. I wonder who has the top offense in the league. Maybe a guy who could carry a team. I don't know. Who has the second highest scoring offense in the league? Maybe a guy who can carry a team. I don't know. Let's talk about that. Why does that matter? Because carrying the team, if you look at the last 5 Super Bowl champions, they all had top 5 scoring offenses. Right now, he's put himself in prime position to be in that Super Bowl conversation. They're 7-4, obviously winning their division. Let's talk about this, how they're 5-1 in the NFC. Okay, so if you're going to make it to the Super Bowl, you got to handle your conference. 5-1, obviously no losses in their division. Let's talk about how the Cowboys, even in struggle, you talk about missing all those players. You didn't ask Zeke and whatever the hell that is. He's crossing the white lines, Baker Mayfield style, but not performing Baker Mayfield style. So Zeke, no running game really. And then you talk about the injuries. And then guess what? They still scored over 30 points in 2 of those 3 games. Dak Prescott's in charge of what? Scoring points, the offense. Dak Prescott's doing his job. Let's look in totality because they're only second to the Bills and to the Cardinals in points scored over 30 this year. And they've scored 40 points or more 3 times this year to be tied for the league lead. I don't know, dog. Challenge. I don't know what you're saying when you tell me that Dak's not good enough when all these categories tell me he's the top dog, at worst second.
We're speaking different languages. We have different qualifiers, different quantifiers. Okay. You're talking about carrying an offense. I'm talking about carrying a team. Now, for y'all at home, well, Dak can only control the offense. Think deeply about the game of football. Remember when the Buccaneers played the Washington football team? It was just about 3 weeks ago. Washington had the ball, about 11 minutes left.
Ooh.
Washington was up by 3 points, if I'm not mistaken. They held on to the ball for the next 10 minutes. You watched the game. Held on to the ball for 10 minutes, went down and scored. Now it's a 10-point game with about 1 minute or a minute and change left. What the offense did not only helped the offense, but what the offense that Washington did, it helped the defense because it kept Tom Brady off the field. So while Dak Prescott only takes snaps on offense, an offensive player can literally carry a team.
Exactly.
Matthew Stafford, you talked about it yesterday. You hit the nail on the head. I was at the Titans game when Stafford played the Titans. Pick 6, turnover at your own goal line. Not only can you hurt your offense as a quarterback, you can also implicate the score of the game as well. You can indict the score of the game as well. Matthew Stafford against Green Bay, pick 6. Not only are you hurting your offense, but you're also hurting your defense as well. Dak Prescott can maybe carry the offense, maybe. The Kansas City Chiefs game would tell a different story. Cowboys defense against the Chiefs, they were phenomenal. We talked about it days after. But Dak Prescott, I don't think, is good enough to carry the team. Again, whenever you talk about Dak, it is not an indictment. I only believe there are about 3 quarterbacks right now because Russell Wilson is no longer on that list. I only believe there are 3 quarterbacks right now that can carry their team. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Patrick Mahomes when he's in his bag. He ain't even been in his bag all year. So Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are the only quarterbacks presently that can carry their teams. It's fine if you can't. We just have to come to terms with the reality that he can't. And I'll tell you next lap why it's not in his DNA.
Oh, wow. All right, something to look forward to because right now, all I can see is Dak Prescott being good enough. Now, is good enough the conversation we're having? I thought we were. Good enough to me means this. Am I doing my job? When coach gets the red dot and the laser, as you know, we sit in those meeting rooms, and that dot is fine for a reason. You know why it's not a big old bulb? He's sitting there and just, who's that dude on Instagram right now? I got to give him his props. That leans like this and be like, hey, man, like your mama, whoever you are.
You're hilarious.
You are hilarious. You're like my favorite follower right now. You're like, yeah, you can't cover your man like your mama. I'm like, what the hell? Point being this. Only the Ravens, only the Cardinals, only the Packers, only the Bucs have better records than the Dallas Cowboys. And that's a missed struggle. Dak Prescott's good enough to carry this team because he's already carried this team this far. We're talking about benching their running back. We're talking about their missing receivers. We're talking about their missing offensive linemen. And they're still in this position where only 4 teams have a better record in terms of the loss column. Come on, man. Who else is carrying this situation? Who else is it? Is it Trayvon Diggs? No. It's about the quarterback. It's about Dak Prescott. Let me end with this before I give it back to you. When you look at Dak Prescott, the thing is, being quarterback, not only is you can hand the ball off for 10 minutes, and that's great, but there's times when you just got to keep things going, steady Eddie. There's no better leader in terms of a team's mental makeup, the potential for disaster, and someone just keeping it all contained. Think about it. His receiving core injured, offensive line injury, lack of production from the starting running back, defense up and down this year, opportunistic, but also just let you run up and down the field. Who's keeping this afloat? Who's keeping this steady Eddie? You said Mike McCarthy's not the coach. Mm-hmm. Who is it? Like, it's got to be Dak Prescott just by default, if nothing else.
I'll ask you a question. I'll challenge y'all to think of a thought. Not a question. It's more so a statement. So
I knew.
You believe the question of, am I doing my job?
Yes.
But what I ask myself is the question of, am I getting the job done?
Okay.
And I think that's the difference.
7-4?
Because Dak Prescott could look at that Raiders game and say, am I doing my job? The answer might be yes. But I'm looking and asking, am I getting the job done? And the answer would be no. Because getting the job done would be winning. The Cowboys have lost 3 of their last 4 under the Dak Prescott. Getting the job done would be winning. The Cowboys have gone 0-2 when you talk about what happened versus the Raiders and the Chiefs the last 2 games. There's a difference between am I doing my job and am I getting the job done? Is Dak Prescott doing his job? I can concede that. But is Dak Prescott the last 4 weeks getting the job done for the Dallas Cowboys? That's where there's a different answer. Lastly, though, for me is talking about the DNA of Dak, which is why I don't blame him.
You said next block.
I said next lap.
Oh, damn.
The DNA of Dak Prescott. Mike McCarthy-led teams, they need to be player-led teams. Y'all saw the HBO Cowboys Hard Knocks. Mike McCarthy's not the most motivational coach. I wouldn't say that's what he does best. Mm-hmm. When the Packers under Mike McCarthy were 1-2, I believe it was, Aaron Rodgers steps to the podium. I said this yesterday, and Aaron Rodgers says, relax. He tells everybody, hey, big dogs, R-E-L-A-X, relax. It's going to be all good. Well, what happens later? The Packers end up on a hot streak. They go to the NFC Championship game. 2 years later, once again, Mike McCarthy-led Green Bay Packers team. They start off 4-6. Aaron Rodgers says, we are going to run the table, close quote. From that point on, the Packers do, in fact, run the table. They, again, go to the NFC Championship game. Clearly, they lost both of those NFC Championship games. With that being said, Aaron Rodgers, his ridiculous confidence, and we know Aaron Rodgers better now than we did in 2016. Aaron Rodgers' ridiculous confidence, and some would say narcissism, is what helped keep and kept the Packers afloat. Dak Prescott has none of that. Dak Prescott at least has shown us to be one of the most humble, meek, calm, non-arrogant individuals in all of football. Dude is getting paid $40+ million a year and still carries himself like he is the janitor as opposed to the CEO. But Dak might need a little bit of that only in this moment. And he doesn't have that. And he shouldn't have that because long-term of life, it behooves you probably not to have that. But what you need from your quarterback, what Mike McCarthy quarterback teams need, is that. And Dak just doesn't have that. Which is fine. Let's not get it twisted, but it's just the truth of the matter in this moment.
The meek shall inherit the earth.
Not a Super Bowl, though.
No, you ain't going to inherit no Super Bowl. You got to go get that. Here's the thing. And they were getting it. 6-1. Hit a rough patch. Still 7-4. Still 5th best record. And the sky's not falling, Nacho. I respect what you're saying, but if he put himself in this position through struggle, through absence, through injury, and he's still in this position, man, give that man his flowers instead of dancing on his grave. Coming up, the offense has been sleeping in Seattle. Sleeping in the rain. Our resident QB, Mark Sanchez, will help us answer what happened to Russell Wilson. That's next on Speak for Yourself. Well, they got a lot of coffee up there to wake you up if you're sleeping. Welcome back. Joined now by the guy I was just staring at. Look at me looking at the camera.
Why are you so formal?
No, you're so hype. Yeah.
You're making me nervous.
You just got out of broadcasting school? What the hell? Did you just leave Syracuse? So look at you. All right, that's our Fox NFL analyst, Mark Sanchez, who's all stiff up here, but we're going to loosen him up. And let's get to Seattle to get loose, where the Seahawks have lost 6 out of 7 in last place in the NFC West. Wow, when the last time we said that? Russell Wilson has been back for 3 games since his surgery on his finger, but the offense has not been clicking. NFL insiders said Russ's dissatisfaction with the team could come back because of their bad record, and this could be his last season in Seattle again. So, Acho, what happened to Russell Wilson?
Man, I'll be honest. I am very excited to hear Mark Sanchez's take.
Yes.
But they pay me, so I got to go first.
You don't get paid?
Well, he said he's going to be honest for once. So.
Look at him.
Everything caught up with Russell Wilson at once, fellas. I think that's what happened. I think everything caught up with Russell Wilson at once. So now the question is, what is everything? Well, first off, you got the off-the-field drama. Russell Wilson, he has a little bit of tension. He says there are 4 teams he wants to go to, but no, he didn't actually release that list. Somebody on his behalf released that list. Yeah. Pete Carroll, John Snyder, everything's good. They're joking with each other at the podium at the start of training camp. That's first thing. I think the second thing that we have to remember is there's more to life than football. And Russell Wilson understands there's more to life than football. Russell Wilson lives a superstar life. It is hard to maintain being a superstar. Y'all remember this offseason, Russell Wilson in GQ photo shoots, lavish photo shoots. Russell Wilson is trapped. Nothing is wrong with it at all.
You've done that.
Nothing like,
he's done that.
Ain't nothing wrong with it.
On the GQ?
Not at all. I didn't make the front cover of the magazine. I was on the back cover of the magazine, but I was on the magazine.
At least that side of the table made the magazine.
So there's nothing wrong with it. But you know, it takes upkeep. It takes maintenance. Traveling abroad and having matching outfits with your partner and color coordinating your outfits and making sure you got the photographer to catch all the shoots. Yeah. Bro, like, that takes work. Again, these might not necessarily be conversations that everybody watching is familiar with, but the people at this desk understand that takes some work, that takes some upkeep. Then there's just a little bit of distractions, not only for Russ, but I think everybody else. DK Metcalf, what was the biggest thing he did all offseason?
Get smoked in the race?
Running a track meet.
No, get smoked. Last place.
Okay, He got last.
Last place, not fast.
Like the most important thing that DK Metcalf did all offseason was running a track meet. Jamal Adams, finally, all the noise of how great is he, and now obviously he's been listening to the noise. I don't fault him for that, but so many distractions there. Everything in my mind, fellas, it caught up to Russell Wilson at once, and you add insult to injury, add the injury. Russell Wilson messes up his thumb, messes up his finger, not the thumb, but messes up a finger during the course of gameplay. He has to miss 4 weeks, and now while the hamster wheel is running, you have to jump off and try to jump back on. Sanchez, you tell me, you were the resident quarterback, you are the superstar quarterback, at least at one point in time. I don't know, but that's my best thought.
Listen, I get it. There's a lot of noise. There was a lot of noise this offseason, and you're right. There are... You know, it requires a lot of upkeep. I think you're correct. All I know is the football stuff ain't good. It's not just straight up. I mean, they're 3 for 12 on 3rd down against the Washington football team. Russell Wilson's the leading rusher with 16 yards. Ooh. Come on, dog. I don't care who you are. You can't win like that. They're outgained by 100 yards in the last 3 games. I mean, this is like... There are huge gaps, and a lot of that's the offensive line issues, which he mentioned in the offseason. And Russ can't cover up all those warts like he does running around in the backfield, making all these crazy highlight plays when there's nowhere to go. And he's not his 100% healthy self, like you said. So what are you going to do? I mean, is this the end for him and Pete Carroll? Potentially. I wouldn't be shocked to see him in another uniform next year, to go to one of these big market teams to keep up that stuff that you talked about in the offseason and start a new chapter like Tom Brady's done, like other players tend to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Rodgers does that also. Like, there's other opportunities out there. It might not be as good as it ever was in Seattle, but I would not be shocked. The bottom line, though, is the football stuff ain't right. And this weekend is a massive, crossroads, right? They're right there staring at the 49ers, and one of these teams is going one way, one of these teams is going the other way.
Man, let's talk about it. You guys, I want to blend where you guys came from on the field and the philosophy of it all. Let me just preface everything by saying that Russell Wilson has now become a victim of his own drive-by choices. Now, I used to think about what that meant, like a drive-by choices. Like every bullet hitting you is just your old decisions coming back to fruition. Like Russell Wilson, it all caught up to him, as you said, a confluence of events, victim of his own drive-by choices. Let's talk about that. Why? Because this war that we always talk about, like what I do right now in this moment and when will it catch up to me, war cannot be avoided, just postponed. And look here, the time has arrived and it's wartime. Here we go. I remember watching the Super Bowl like Russell Wilson did. I wasn't sitting next to Sierra. I wasn't sitting next to Roger Goodell. I was just at the crib chilling. But he was up there not watching the Super Bowl with full focus. Oh, I should be on the field. Come on, we got to train. We got to do this. We got to do that. You fast forward, all of a sudden, he's sending out letters with 4 other teams mentioned if I'm not a Seattle Seahawk. You fast forward, he is still a Seattle Seahawk. Go Hawks. And the other 4 teams, obviously not in his future, and his teammates are sitting there looking at him. Like, hey, bro, you gonna make atone for the issues that you just already caused, the dust you kicked up? Fast forward, you see him running into press conferences, uninvited, hugging Pete Carroll. Hey, buddy. And Pete Carroll's sitting there like, you know this war can't be avoided, just postponed. Now you got a new offensive coordinator. All of this adds up. And I'm gonna give it to you like I know how it plays. Russell Wilson knows that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. But this is what happens when you get caught up. Like Usher said, caught up, I'm been twisted, caught up. I went to the Vegas show.
I like your version better.
For real, you like my better? Yo, look at the lyrics. I'm the kind of brother, who been doing it my way, getting my way for years. He caught up with this fool. Okay, here we go. Let's talk. Well, my coach told me that the shortest distance is a straight line, right? And he said, when you take your eyes off the prize, you ain't got to, I'm looking at you, Mark, you're the prize. I don't have to look like this to get off mark. He said the slightest deviation over the course of time, over the course of choices will make me miss that mark. This is Russell Wilson. And we've been seeing it. Let Russ cook. Oh, it ain't cooking that well. Let Russ cook. Oh, the second half of the season, he's falling off. Oh, let Russ cook. New offensive coordinator. Oh, let Russ cook. He can't get MVP vote. Oh, let Russ cook. We're 3-6 in our last 9 playoff appearances. Let Russ cook. You're 1 and done in 2 of your last 3 playoff appearances. It all caught up to him, like you said, like Usher said. And this is always the case when a great takes their eye off the prize.
I got a question for you, Sanchez, because I caught you after your Jets stint. You go from the New York Jets to the Philadelphia Eagles. How much did having to be on the covers of GQ when you had a very public dating life and you had a lot more going on than football? At the time, I doubt you would have admitted it. Obviously, all focused on football, that stuff doesn't matter. But in retrospect, I have to assume that stuff didn't help your on-the-field performance. Could that be a part of the Russell Wilson issue with him?
It doesn't necessarily help, but at the time, I was so young, I didn't know any different, and it wasn't that tough. I had the energy, I had the juice to go do it.
Yeah.
But we were also winning. When you're winning, it doesn't matter. When you're winning, those other stories on the outside and the dress-up thing and going abroad and all that stuff's like kind of cool. People are like, oh, sweet. Like, all right. Have fun. That looks really fun. Post more pictures, Russ. Now it's, hey, get in your playbook, Russ. Why are we doing that in the offseason? Well, because they're not winning. That's the great equalizer. And if you can't win, then it's hard to justify a lot of those other things.
The interesting thing for me, Sel, is that Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, they were losing before the thumb. Like, they were en route to being 2 and 3 before the thumb. So, like, let's not get it twisted. Let's not, for those at home, like, oh, it's all about the thumb injury. Or the finger injury. It did not help at all. I doubt they would be 0-3 since he's returned, if not for the finger injury. However, they weren't good beforehand. I am hard-pressed to blame the offensive line because the offensive line's been bad. And the Seahawks have been good. I'm hard-pressed to blame the running game because the running game has been bad. And the Seahawks have been good. Even last year, the defense was atrocious, and the Seahawks still good. Clearly, this falls on Russ, not because it's Russ's fault, but usually Russ is a great eraser.
Like, because he runs around and gets free. When they have clear sacks, he runs around, extends plays, and people have caught up to the DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett stuff.
But I'm not going to let him off the hook by letting y'all give him a mattress to lie on. In his last 9 playoff appearances, they have averaged under 21 points. Like this has been known. It's just like, oh, well, they made the playoffs again. Oh, he's never had a losing record. Oh, but when it comes from the great heights that he's ascended from, or I should say now descending from, where he ascended to, it takes us a while to realize, oh, that plane ain't that high anymore until it's like, oh, you ever go to LAX on Sepulveda? Then you're like, damn, that plane, boom, that's a big plane. But when it's way up there, you're like, oh, you don't notice what height is falling from. That's Russell Wilson to me. First time I met Mark Sanchez, he was in the prime, all that stuff. It was at Javier's, OC. You know, if I say Javier's and Mark Sanchez, everybody in OC just lit up like, yeah, that's him. But it was an energy around him because he was the man. He was winning. He was a quarterback, look like that, talk like that, be like that. He was winning like that. Not mad at it. I take issue when people like you, Acho, say, well, did that take from your game? No, you know what takes from your game? Your game. Simple as that. Let me tell you why. I played with a lot of Hall of Famers, superstars who lived the life. They in the Hall of Fame for a reason. They've never let the two bleed onto one another. I bring it up and personalize it because when I started off my rookie year, I was a DJ. When I got my first check, the first thing I bought was DJ equipment. I've been wanting to DJ my whole life. I got that check. I looked at it, Buffalo Bills, thank you. Here's my techniques, right? And I used to DJ Super Bowls, festivals, NFL parties, owners' parties, all that. Yeah. But this is why I bring it up. I don't bring it up to gloat. I bring it up because owners of my teams. Can you, Marcellus, busy Friday? Can you DJ this? I do it all. 10 sacks, 13 sacks, whatever. And soon them sacks start going down, all of a sudden the DJ was the problem. Oh, Russell Wilson, taking pictures ain't the problem. You got a stylist. You know how it is. You just walk in, put your foot into it, tease, go home, work out. But the point is, his game is robbing him, not all the distractions, and we're going to blame those same distractions.
Here's why, though, because there comes a point in time where you can mitigate your deceleration. Track and field, I'm sorry. I know, I apologize.
Left turns, straight.
Look, you're so slow at accelerating, it's hard. Slowing down. Look, you're just always in like second gear.
The kicker in track is at the 70-meter mark of a 100-meter race, so 30 meters left. Very simple. Nobody's still accelerating.
Yes.
Right.
It's just
on.
That's it. It's who's decelerating the slowest. So it looks like, oh man, Usain Bolt really sped up at the end. No, he was slowing down. He was just slowing down at a lesser rate than everybody else.
I love it.
Why bring that up to talk Russ? Because I look at it like this, Sanchez. I look at it like this, Sal. If the offseason distractions are causing him to decelerate at a slower rate than other quarterbacks or decelerate at a slower rate than he otherwise would, then maybe it's on the offseason distractions. It's not that DJing wasn't messing up your sack game. It's not that living that life in the offseason wasn't messing up Russell Wilson. But early on in a race, it doesn't matter as much. What matters at the end of a race, you better be technically sound because that's when you're already fatigued. At the end of a career, that's when you're already physically going to start to atrophy. So it behooves you to make sure that you're not distracted elsewhere.
But this same argument came up with Tom Brady last year in New England. Like, oh, maybe he needs to stop taking the picture with the little baby goat, and maybe he needs to chill out on all this other stuff in the offseason. I mean, bottom line, dog, if you can play and you go ball, that just erases. People put up with a lot as long as you win.
As long as you
that's just
ball.
the way it goes. Whether that's right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't know. But that's just the way it works.
I think it's just a perception. I really do. I don't think that they bleed together. I play with too many guys that I can't even talk about the stuff I saw them do privately and the times that they went to bed and burned both ends of the candle.
Like, or guys who eat like crap. Or
eat like crap, all-nighters, Hall of Famers.
All of that to say, though, because that exists and that exists within every locker room. But I would also still wonder, I wonder how much better that Hall of Famer still would have been if he wouldn't have done all those things. Like Luka, I've heard. Luka be in them streets, apparently, in Dallas. He's still a top 5 NBA player, maybe top 10. But, it makes you wonder, just because you're great doesn't mean you couldn't be greater.
Yeah. I'm not having that conversation. I'm having this conversation. Let's not hang our hat on that perception that is because of the distractions. My coach used to say, don't come to practice on the red carpet. I get why he said that. But at the same time, I've seen too many people succeed, including the greatest quarterback we have right now in Tom Brady, who walks a red carpet, who's with more of a superstar, global star than even Russell Wilson's wife, who was always...
Hey, now, doing too much.
Money talks. Money talks.
No, but money does not mean everything. Tom Brady is not more of a global star than Sierra.
Hold on. I said Giselle. Coming up, Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly shook up. I said with someone. Kelly shook up college football this week. She make more money than all of them combined. But we'll tell you who's to blame for their sudden departures next. Don't speak for yourself. It goes Giselle,
Sierra, Tom Brady.
No, Sierra's not bigger than Brady. And college football jumped to the top of the headlines this week with huge coaching news. Fight on, Lincoln Riley left Oklahoma and is now the head coach at USC. Well, Brian Kelly is the winningest coach in the history of Notre Dame football, but he'll now be roaming the sidelines at LSU. Marcus back, but Acho, who's to blame for the college football coaching shakeup?
Man, when I think about the shakeups and really the collateral damage from the shakeups, I blame the coaches first, but I also blame the NCAA.
Okay.
I blame the NCAA because we always say college football is amateur. Well, then we said it's not amateur, it's business. But the problem really, America, is that it's business to one group of people and it's amateur to another. And I think that's the disconnect. Because for players, if you got coaches that are making $100 million, Mel Tucker, Michigan State, 10 years, $9.5 million, incentives that can go up to 10. You got coaches making $100 million, and you got players that aren't making money. They have the opportunity to make money, but don't ever get bamboozled. The opportunity of making bread and making bread are two totally different things.
Acho.
That's joining a startup versus getting a salary. A startup company, you got the opportunity to make bread. A salary, you gonna make bread. So that's the problem is you got players that are living an amateur lifestyle. Wait, I still got to go to study hall, and it's mandated? I got to go to dining hall and it's mandated. I used to not be able to go get a job somewhere else.
Dining hall.
You know what it is, bro. I got to go to dining hall. I got to eat this.
Who's mad at that, though? I missed that.
So,
wait, my wife
there's just a disconnect, y'all, because Sal and I, Sanchez, have been arguing for 48, maybe 72 hours now that Brian Kelly is a business. Business is business. He did what was business. Yeah, right. But I'm sitting there like, to these 18 and 19-year-olds, it's not yet fully a business. I'm not too old to remember that I didn't think it was a business because it wasn't a business for me. It was amateur for me. A business for me means I'm getting paid and I'm performing an act of service, which is in turn giving me money. Not a scholarship check, not a free education that I could have gotten via scholarship, be a top 10%, none of that. A business to me is I'm performing a service, I'm being compensated for my service. It's a business for the coaches. It is amateur for the athletes. So when coaches make business decisions, now the amateurs are left to deal with the repercussions of the business decisions the coaches are making.
That's totally fair. I think it's been a business for a long time.
Me too.
And now the players are just starting to figure out how they have this opportunity to make money, and some guys are cashing in, some guys aren't. That thing will figure itself out. But to me, to blame is this new recruiting period, this early recruiting signing.
That's part of it.
That's the only thing that accelerates those decisions. Lincoln Riley, after losing that Big 12 champion, or the
Battle of Bedlam game
against Oklahoma State, literally that night he has to do a phone call with USC. Then the next morning they give him the 200-page slideshow, like, hey, here's what we have for you. Then he literally has to look at his wife and kids, like, are we doing this? Are you good with LA? We'll figure out school for the kid. Okay, cool. Hey, Alex Grinch, you want to go to SC? Hey, assistant coaches, you want to go to SC? Let's ride. I mean, what else are you going to do? Because if he doesn't do that, if he waits, has another team meeting, has a team banquet, all that kind of stuff, he's going to lose all those kids to Oklahoma, the team he just left, instead of flipping them before he gets to his new spot. So, I mean, I understand the emotions of it. And Coach Kelly, everybody's on him for he had a 10-minute team meeting. That's all he gave these kids before he left. What do you want him to do? He's got to catch a flight, man.
We got to go. And that's the thing I love.
I'm about to go to war again.
Let go to war.
Do we have the A block? We can rewrite it.
We are. And look, there's a real case study right now. There's actually a player, Malachi Nelson, who's now a USC Trojan, who was going to be an Oklahoma Sooner because Lincoln Riley was there. Lincoln Riley, last 72 hours, fast life, right? And it happened fast for him. It happened fast for Malachi Nelson. These dominoes fall very fast. So now you look at Brian Kelly, you look at all these coaches because of the early signing period. They're like, I got to go. Now, let's talk to what Acho is talking about, because Acho, you went to the University of Texas and you didn't think it was a big business? I went to Columbia and I knew I was going around the big business, but I didn't get a salary. You didn't get a salary. Maybe, I don't know, UT. USC? Well, we already know. Range Rovers. They pulling up. Where you at, Pete? Here's the thing. Pete gone. Here's the thing. Oh, man. Y'all didn't know this was a business. I'm glad at least Sanchez admits it. Here's the thing. When you walk into college football, this is what they emotionally used to think as a coach. I'm making all this money. This kid doesn't make any money. But you know what? He doesn't even have the chance and opportunity to make money. And then you know what started to happen? Player empowerment, which is a thing we need to salute and applaud, right? All that stuff. Here's the problem. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And now all of a sudden we got the NILs, We got all of these guys in the transfer portal. Hey, coach, you benched me this week.
Free agency.
Yeah. All these things happen. When we got early signing period, equal and opposite reactions. And this is what I want the players to understand. Y'all are participating in this business as well. Now, to me, I looked at college as an equity conversation, not a salary conversation. I thought that I was investing in my overall future, so I'm going to go to a school that gives me the best overall opportunity for success. It worked out. I got the best of both worlds. But these players need to understand this. When y'all sitting there in y'all high school gyms thinking y'all cute, auntie and them and uncles and mama and them and all of them got on different colors and split jerseys, and you got a LSU hat here and you got a USC hat here, and you say, okay, well, my selection, my choice, I'll take my talents to USLSU. Do you know what you just did to that other program? You changed lives. And that's what happens. These lives are being changed from one direction, and now they're feeling that their lives will be changed from the other direction. Okay. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
The water's warm. Sel,
playing with people's lives like that.
You have stood in front of an audience and heard these words. I've never stood in front of an audience,
Wiley.
but I've sat in front of an audience and heard these words.
What?
Gotta let this hit.
Okay, let's hit. Pregnant pause. Here we go.
You stood in front of an audience and you've heard these words, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yes.
Why? Because you have a moment before making a commitment to speak. If I'm going to commit to USLSU, that was my speak now moment. But once I say LSU, that's a different moment. Because within the confinements of a season, cats can sit out, cats can tap out, cats can enter these transfer portals. But you have a moment before you make a long-term commitment, before you make a vow, before you stand in front of an audience, before you stand in front of a team to speak now or forever hold your peace. Now, I'm not telling Brian Kelly to forever hold your peace. But hold your peace till the end of the season, please. You ain't got to hold it forever. Dude. But can you at least hold it until we know if we're going to the playoffs, Sanchez? Sanchez,
you can't do that.
You can't. You lose Malachi Nelson.
Because of the ways of the landscape, the college football landscape.
Yeah.
And hold on. What about these players that sit out bowl games?
Oh, great. I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked.
We don't drink champs.
Somebody on the side.
No player has sat out of a playoff game. I would not be so up in arms if not a playoff.
They are not in the playoffs. So why you keep bringing that up?
Because they can
have an opportunity to be. I understand that.
They can. Yeah.
Go.
They can, but they're not.
What you mean? So what? There's a difference between sitting out a Week 17 game and sitting out a Super Bowl. I know plenty of players in the NFL who sat out Week 17 games. Man, I got a broken nail. I'm going to go ahead and sit this one out. Ain't nobody sitting out the Super Bowl for a broken nail.
That's a business decision. Yeah. Those kids are making a business decision to miss a game to go play in the NFL. Tell me that's not a business decision.
It is a business decision, but the stakes are different. I don't care if somebody breaks up with a girlfriend, but we have issues when people break up with their spouses. That is called divorce. There's legal annulments. There's contracts. You can break up with a girlfriend all willy-nilly. There's levels that dictate the outcome and the punishment and the view of something.
But there's no marriage in college football anymore.
Yes.
The transfer portal, the way these coaches
cheating.
play musical chairs. What do you mean?
It's one of those places, not in Vegas, but right by Vegas and Reno. It's open season, dog. What you doing? You don't know where you are. That's it.
Here's what I have realized.
What have you realized?
You all are so detached.
No, we are real. You're detached.
No,
you're living in a Hallmark card.
I'm not.
Open up Acho.
I was playing at the University of the Colors of Your Tie, burnt orange. Shout out to Texas. I was playing there just 10 years ago. Watch your mouth. I was playing there just 10 years ago, and I still remember the college football experience. I can't imagine if y'all were sitting there with a chance at playing in a national championship game. You playing one?
No, not a national championship, no.
I can't, but you got close. I remember.
Over here, ass.
This is now an AD conversation. Coming up. I can't imagine, Sanchez, sitting in a meeting room knowing that we are a 6 and we could jump up to a 4, go to a national championship, at least a college football playoff appearance, and our coach wants to dip.
You ready?
They're going to get in now.
You ready?
Exactly. That's the worst part.
Here we go. This is the worst part. He was forced to make this decision.
Don't do that.
Be real.
I was forced to cheat.
No.
She started dancing.
It's not that. It's not cheating. That is not analogous. Here's the thing.
Oh, my God.
In business, there's a thing. Look, he's being offered something, and there are offers you can't refuse. Acho, you and I have talked for years, even before this show. Money, opportunity, right?
Yes, sir.
Come on, man. And if you had plans and then those plans shifted, even you getting to this show, remember you had that shift? You're supposed to be in another city doing your thing big, right?
They try to give me a pay cut. Keep going.
See, now you want to go all the way there? I can just try to keep it clean to protect the guilty. Here's the thing. There are offers you can't refuse. Right now, I'm born and raised in L.A. I'm in L.A. I do a show in L.A. My schedule's beautiful. I love L.A. Someone offered me something that I can't refuse.
What are you gonna
That's what you have to do. And everyone playing the game knows that.
There's not much I wouldn't do for $110 million. Like, let's be real here.
Y'all have
Yes.
You know what Lincoln Riley did when he got that offer? He looked at his two daughters and was like, all right, cool, we're set. Babe, you good with this? Are you down with LA for a little bit? Let's say he comes here and is here for 5 years and wins 0 games. 0 games. They get the worst recruiting classes, and SC goes even farther down the tank. Okay?
100. 100. And all they say is do it now.
Let me
do it
just
now.
look at worst case scenario.
Do it now.
Clarify?
Okay.
I'm not saying turn it down, y'all.
You can't wait.
I'm not saying
you can't wait.
The parameters that are put in place.
Y'all have to stop saying can't, because y'all gonna confuse the viewers to make the viewers think it's illegal, like he can't do it.
Malachi Nelson.
He can do it.
But you're ruining your future at that new place.
Thank you.
So I said this is Sal. I got to say this to you as well. Can we go to my pastor? Can we go to church?
Oh, yeah, we're going back to church. The pastor's scared right now. He ain't been praying lately. Let's hear it.
Sanchez. Wiley come up with the offering plate. Go ahead.
I told this to Sal, Sanchez. My pastor, 5-10 years ago, he said, man, when I meet strangers, he's a married woman. He said, when I meet strangers, I'm oftentimes what's confusing?
Did they just oh, yeah, we together.
That's a weird place, but go.
Okay, my pastor, he's a married man. I thought something. I said,
it's a new world. I didn't know what to do.
Y'all could have corrected me.
I mean, not in today's world. I don't know. It could be true.
Pastor, married daughter.
What church you go to?
When he meets strangers, Sanchez, he's oftentimes cold. He's cold to them because he says this: if I'm going to offend somebody, I would rather offend the stranger than offend my wife. Like, somebody might potentially be offended. If I'm meeting you and you might be overly flirtatious, somebody got to get offended. The point that you all are making is that Lincoln Riley, that Brian Kelly, they would ruin their future opportunities for a month, for a year, maybe. But they're ruining the opportunities of the Notre Dame's players last year. Definitely. So if somebody has to get offended, if somebody got to get ruined, why would you ruin the people that have committed to you for 4 and 5 years? The seniors, the red shirts. You're cold, man. Y'all cold. Go to break. I'm up here with some cold people,
homicidal.
And I'm hot. Y'all cold and I'm hot.
Listen,
this is crazy, man.
What's it called again? Show friends? No, show business.
That's just money.
Show friends. Hey, welcome to LA.
Business.
Entertainment capital of the world.
So y'all would just sell me out for some dollars.
No,
man.
I would tell you where I'm going, and maybe you could buy into it as well. You see how Brian Kelly is offering other coaches on staff. God. You seen Lincoln Riley was on the plane with others.
Crazy.
Like, you down with this?
It's like he just got out of the Truman Show.
No, lying, though. I'm not. You are lying. If someone offered you $100 million to host a show right now, and it's in Bogota or wherever the hell, are you going? Are you going?
Where is Bogota?
What do you mean? West side Bogota? It matters.
That's a yes. And if they said Marcellus Wiley cannot come with you, that means you're not going to go there.
Here's what I would do, Sal. If my departure was going to ruin a raise you might get, like Brian Kelly's departure is going to ruin a raise that the Notre Dame players might get raised into the college football playoffs, then I would delay my departure.
Oh, my God. You know what? I love to hear that, but I would tell them, if he doesn't want to go, I'll take the job. Coming up, the Cowboys. And I'll take it for 90. The Cowboys have an uphill climb as they get ready to play the Saints.
I can't stand you.
I'll tell you
like
tomorrow is
30 seconds.
Must-win game. That's next on Speak for Yourself. Man, I'll take that for 80, dog.
Dak Prescott said Tuesday that his squad is in for a challenge tomorrow night against the Saints on Fox. Don't forget that. Dallas has dropped 3 out of 4, however, and will not have their head coach, Mike McCarthy. Might be a good thing. He's sidelined, though, however, due to COVID. Get well, McCarthy. But the Cowboys are still favored by 4.5 points on the road, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. Sal, I know you hate this question, but I have to ask you.
You know I hate it. Go ahead. God.
Is tomorrow night's game a must-win for the Dallas Cowboys?
Okay, since we got that out the way, I hate must-win when it's really not literally a must-win, but in this situation, it is a must-win. And I have to personalize it.
Wow.
2 reasons. Why? Number 1, you can't lose to the New Orleans Saints, who've lost 4 games in a row. A worse skid than even the Dallas Cowboys are currently under, right? That's 1. But 2, let's bring it back to when I was balling out of control. I hated this. And I think we talked about this one time on air, and I felt like I flipped you because you were like, if I had to pass rush against our third string off the street tackle, who's barely holding on for a job and barely going between active roster and practice squad, just that guy, right? And when they would line us up in training camp, and it was me when at the peak of my powers versus that guy, I hated that moment. But you know what I knew what that moment was? A must win. I gotta beat him. You know why? Everyone's looking like, you that guy, and you're getting paid that much, and we know who you are. Who's this dude? You gotta beat him. Who are the New Orleans Saints right now? They're a team that's rudderless. They're a team without a quarterback. They're a team that's looking forward to next year because once Jameis Winston went down, as we can tell, as we can see, they don't really have that much. Good defense, capable team and roster, but they're missing their mojo. They're missing their quarterback. So that said, this is just one of those must-wins. You can't beat the Dallas Cowboys and hope for all the great things in your future if you can't handle this moment against this team.
I agree with you. Cowboys versus Saints, it's a must-win. And I'll go as far as to say, if the Cowboys lose to the Saints on Thursday Night Football, I guarantee they will be one and done in the playoffs. Not I think they will be one and done in the playoffs. I guarantee they will be one and done in the playoffs.
I don't know about that.
If the Cowboys lose to the Saints, a Saints team that has the longest losing streak in the NFL.
Okay.
If the Cowboys lose to the Saints, a Saints team that's on their third-string quarterback because they want Taysom Hill to start. Yeah. If the Cowboys lose to the Saints, a Saints team that can't get right, who can the Cowboys convincingly beat? The Cowboys lost to a Raiders team. Oh, well, the Cowboys didn't have their star receiver. Henry Ruggs isn't employed. Raiders ain't have their number one receiver. Well, the Cowboys didn't have CeeDee Lamb. Darren Waller didn't play the last 42 minutes of the game. Raiders didn't have their number two receiver. So don't talk to me about, well, the Cowboys didn't have. No team has right now in full capacity. So if the Cowboys lose to these if the Cowboys lose to these Saints, I don't know who they're going to beat come the playoffs. It's not a must-win in regards to making the playoffs. They're going to be the 4th seed. I think it's solidified they're going to be the 4th seed, win or loss. It's not a must-win in regards to, is Mike McCarthy going to keep his job? No, it's not a must-win in regards to, are we going to question, did we overpay Dak Prescott? None of that. But what really matters in football is winning chips. And you can only win a chip if you get to the playoffs. And you can only win a chip if you win in the playoffs. If you lose to the Saints, I'm now looking like, well, you can't go on the road and beat anybody. And at home, you don't protect home field. You lost to a Broncos team that's decent. You lost to a Raiders team that's decent. So if the Cowboys lose to the Saints, they will be one and done in the playoffs. I am guaranteeing it.
Oh, come on. You can't do that. Now, see,
it's a must-win.
See, I guess you didn't like the initial question because you knew I hated the initial question. So now you want to evolve it to something else. We're not going to go there. Cowboys lose, what would their record be?
7-5.
Okay, right now, currently, they're 7-4. They will be 7-5. They have the 5th best record in the NFL right now. They lose this game, they're 7-5, as you just said. Somebody, 7-5. That rings a bell. 7-5. 7-5. Tampa. It's coming to me. You know, I played football 10 years. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 7-5 last year, right? Oh, they're going to only win. They're one and done in the playoffs. Were they one and done in the playoffs last year? This is a get-right game. Even if they lose, this is a get-right game for you. It's set up to be a get-right game. You win. If you lose, you're where the champions were exactly last year. Think about it, Acho. I'm not talking about you sitting up here in the suit. I'm talking about you as a Dallas Cowboy. If you walked into that locker room, somehow, some way, New Orleans beat you, and you're at the exact same record as a team last year that won a championship with an additional game, because there's 17 games this year, you would sit there and think somewhere in your mind, somewhere in your mental hemisphere, that, damn, we won and done. Floor is yours.
You got to watch who you compare yourself to, Sel.
No, I don't.
A dude tweeted at me yesterday, and when he was watching the show, he might still be watching. He was like, dang, Acho, I didn't really realize you were 31, man. Like, I got to get going in my life. And I tweeted back, man, Brian Kelly just got a $100 million contract at 60. You good, bro? Now, realistically speaking, you might not be good because you might not get a $100 million contract at 60. But, you know, it sounds good. If you're watching, you might get a $100 million contract at 60. But you might not.
Never know.
Be careful, Cowboys, if you're comparing yourself to a team led by the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady. Just be careful. You might be able to start 7-5 and win a chip. But there were a lot of 7-5 teams last year that didn't win chips. So I'm just saying, be mindful of who you compare yourself to. Because, Sel, again, you ran the 400 meters, obviously.
No, I didn't run the 400 meters. You make it sound like I'm DK Metcalf or someone just in the race. Who was I in the 400 meters? Tell them. National record holder, national champion, mile relay, 400 meters. Keep talking.
Even better. You were a national record holder. What you know is this. There are some people who get out in the first 200 meters and then just kind of hold on as much as they can in the last 200. And then there are some people like Alice and Felix who they kind of can cruise the first 200, but that last 200, boy, they gon' get it and they gon' come get you.
Talk that talk.
If you try to compare your first 200 to Allison's first 200, you might be like, hey, through 200 meters, I'm right there with Alice and Felix. But you don't understand. She wins her race at the end of her race. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers won their race at the end of their race last year.
Yes.
So don't compare yourself, Dallas Cowboys, or at least be mindful in doing it, to the Bucs, the first 12 games of the season, unless, Sel, you think the Cowboys can go out and win 8 straight, because that's what the Bucs did.
Oh, well, I don't know. The Cowboys might. They only have divisional games up ahead, and then they got an Arizona game that's going to be tough, but it's second to last week. Who knows what Arizona already has clinched or not clinched? Point being, not out of the realm of possibility. At the end of the Cowboys race, they can do something because they're playing the NFC least at the end of their race. But that's not my greater point. First of all, whoever tweeted at you, you bringing up old-ass Brian Kelly. You should have brought up young-ass Lincoln Riley, 38 with $100 million. How you feel now? Because you try to make that man feel bad. I'm going to make you feel bad.
Honestly, I feel great.
Yeah, you don't feel great. You ain't on no $100 million pace, are you? Are you? Let your boy know. Here's the thing. I do compare. You know why? And this is not even my lane. This is your lane, but I'm going to show you that you may be hypocritical to your own lane. I get hit up a lot of times. I got a lot of mentees out there. I get hit up a lot of times by organizations because of my story to go back to the neighborhood and talk. I always do it, but sometimes I do it for an organization as well. And the only reason they want me there is because, wow, we need to use you as someone who can inspire others to aspire to what you have become. All right, I get it. Motivation, right? See it in flesh. He came from here, he grew up right here, and he became that. Well, then I could become whatever I want to become, correct? You know what activates that? You know what me going back and then touching someone else's 12-year-old hand and just talking to him about my experience, you know what that activates? It activates because of the comparison, because we have something that's similar. Cowboys, if you are in a bad situation, and that bad situation can turn out great like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's the same thing as me going back to one of my old stomping grounds and just telling that kid, hey, man, I used to be right here, 7-5. And I win in Super Bowls. As you said, Acho, I ain't losing. Well, those kids don't have to lose as well. But I thought that was for you, Acho. Sounds like you pulling me to your side. Coming up, Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly's new jobs also come with huge expectations. We'll tell you who will win a national champion. Oh, God, we got to fight again. Who will win a national championship first? Next on Speak for Yourself. Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly shocked everyone by packing their bags, Louis bags, for new universities. Riley led Oklahoma to 4 straight Big 12 titles. Now he's joining a USC program that has not won a bowl game since 2016. Kelly is the winningest coach in the history of Notre Dame football. But he's on to an LSU team that won the national championship a couple seasons ago, but are 11-11 since. So, Acho, who will win a national championship first, Lincoln Riley or Brian Kelly?
I'm going to say Lincoln, Sel, and I'm going to say Lincoln Riley because it's a high risk, high reward. Now, again, I told y'all this yesterday. I look at the last 3 USC coaches, things didn't fare well for them. Clay Helton, Steve Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin, and Lane Kiffin is having success. So I don't know if it is as much of a coaching problem at SC as it is just the DNA of the structure problem. But when I think about Lincoln Riley, I know this much, that the dude can coach. I know this much, that the dude can recruit. And I would say that there's a greater chance that Lincoln Riley has a chip here in the next 3 to 5 years than there is that Brian Kelly, primarily because the road is easier. Let's be real, man. Brian Kelly, we've been singing his praises, and rightfully so. He's done a great job at Notre Dame for 12 years. But for y'all college football fans or not, for you, Sel, the toughest team Brian Kelly played all season was Cincinnati. Toughest team. The biggest win the Notre Dame Irish had all season was against a 4-loss Wisconsin team. So the toughest team they played was Cincinnati, and the biggest win they had was Wisconsin. At LSU, toughest team you're going to play every year is Alabama. And if you beat them, that's your biggest win. And if you just so happen to beat Alabama, oh, well, you are graced and privileged with playing a team like Georgia in the SEC championship game. And if it's not Georgia, then it's probably a Florida team that's actually come back from the grave and resurrected itself. So this ain't the days of playing Wake Forest, Brian Kelly, not the days of playing Stanford, Brian Kelly, not the days of playing the poorest USCs, Brian Kelly. You playing Alabama's, and if you beat them, congratulations, we'll reward you with Georgia. On the other hand, Lincoln Riley, who they got to go up against? Arizona? They barely won a game in the last 2 years. Arizona State, we don't even know if their coaches are going to be there. They're in the midst of a little bit of turmoil right now. Colorado hasn't been a great football school in a long time consistently. Utah is the best team that USC has to play on a consistent basis, being in the Pac-12 South. And if you beat Utah, well, now you end up seeing a team like Oregon and whatnot.
Yeah, there you go.
So I don't really see the difficulty of the path for a team like Lincoln and SC like I do for Brian Kelly at LSU. Lincoln will win a chip first.
Did I convert you to Lincoln? Okay, that's your own doing. All right. Because you may have converted me to make me think that Brian Kelly could win the championship first. I'm not going to lie, I'm torn on this one. But the championship residue, the DNA as you talk about, is closer in proximity and in talent at LSU right now than USC. That changes fast, and that could be fluid because Malachi Nelson, number 2 overall prospect, already committed to USC at the most important position, quarterback. I have strong arguments for Lincoln Riley. I have strong arguments for Brian Kelly. For the sake of television, let me talk about this a little bit with Brian Kelly. Boy, the rigors, the road to getting to that national championship is what we're discussing. I don't have a college football playoff committee vote, but if I did, I would look at Cincinnati and be like, sorry. Nope, not getting in. I know you're undefeated. I know you're great. Nope, not getting in. Let me tell you why. Because it's not just good enough on any given Saturday to say, hey, we can beat that team. Because I went through the era of Boise State, and now we're in Cincinnati, and we can see these teams that you're just seeing kind of fringe of the Power 5 in terms of Alabama and Clemson and LSU, et cetera. And you're like, well, they can match up with them. They can match up with them. But there are levels to this. The rigors. SEC rigors. If you make it through that slaughterhouse, I respect you. But if you look at what Lincoln Riley's going to see, like you said, in the Pac-12, it's not that kind of stomping ground. It's a lot smoother of pavement than what he's going to see Brian Kelly in the SEC. So I think Brian Kelly has a better team, but boy, a tougher road. I think Lincoln Riley has a worse team, but a smoother road. Who's going to meet there first? If you made me say I have to go and guess, I would say Brian Kelly, but trust me, I'm not with conviction.
So I think about it like this, man. I would rather travel 10 miles on travel 10 miles on a rocky terrain in a truck than 10 miles on smooth pavement in a bike. And what it is, well,
what is that this? That's not this.
Well, what it is
they're different. The distances are different.
The distances are different, which is why if you're really looking at those large-scale distances, Lincoln Riley can get to the playoffs. Now the question is Lincoln Riley going to have the issue that Brian Kelly just ran from, getting to the playoffs and realizing, uh-oh, I ain't got the dude.
Not yet.
Not yet. But Lincoln can get there. Brian Kelly, I don't even know if he'll be able to get there.
Now, why is that? They just won a championship 2 years ago. He has the second most wins of all college football coaches.
Let me tell you why.
Behind Nick Saban.
Brian Kelly, we have never seen him have to be able to make sure his guys bring it week in and week out. Because Notre Dame is usually going to go out on the field and be better than just about everybody they play. Except when they play Clemson, or a couple years back when they played Georgia, this year when they played Cincinnati, and they had to turn up when they played Wisconsin. But Notre Dame can just march out on the field, and even if we don't bring it, even if our coach doesn't have us right, we still go win. We that much better than everybody else. It don't work like that in the SEC. You can't just march out there and motivate your guys for a game or two. I make the comparison. I remember Tom Herman. The reason Texas recruited her was so high on Tom Herman because, man, against top 5 teams at Houston, he was knocking everybody out. He beat Oklahoma a couple of times, maybe he beat A&M. Hype. But what people didn't realize was, can he coach his team week in and week out to get hype.
Yeah.
Brian Kelly, yeah, you can get them boys hype against Wisconsin. You can get them boys hype against Clemson. But when you at LSU, you got to get them hype against Ole Miss, against A&M, against Bama, potentially against Georgia, against, like, you just have to continually do something. We don't even know if Brian Kelly can work that muscle. That's why I'm not convinced it is going to be Kelly.
Well, we actually know he can't work that muscle, but is it because he can't work that muscle or his collective group didn't have the proper muscles to work? 1-8 against top 10 opponents when he was at Notre Dame. 1-8 against top 10 opponents. This is a jockey versus horse conversation. Well, you go to LSU, you're going to have the horses. Let's see what kind of jockey you are. Coming up, Cowboys are trying to get back in the win column. But is Dak Prescott good enough to carry them? We'll answer that next on Speak for Yourself.
Well, the Cowboys have lost 3 out of 4, and they're going to try to get back right in the win column. That's tomorrow night against the Saints on Fox. Now, they'll be without head coach Mike McCarthy due to COVID, but Amari Cooper is expected to be back. Now, Dak Prescott says the need for a win is urgent and added this: a team that's hungry, quote, they're hungry and pissed off. See, so I'm not even good at, like, saying that.
I'm about to say, you making me pissed off the way you read that prompter. God dang.
I was taught.
Can we keep it real up
in the words I'm supposed to say? You know me. That's just I'm not comfortable saying that.
You went to that prompter school that Broadcasting Sanchez went to doing this. Man, relax. Just read it. So, Marcellus, is that good enough to carry the Cowboys? Absolutely.
Can you answer the question?
Yeah, we already asked this question. I already know the answer. Yes. What are y'all doing to Dak Prescott right now? Dak Prescott was sitting there high and mighty at 6-1, and everybody was kissing up to him. Now that they're 7-4, which is still the 5th best record in the entire NFL, people want to act like Dak Prescott is not the steady Eddie that's keeping this thing afloat. Dak Prescott, with injuries to his offensive line, Dak Prescott with injuries to his wide receivers, Dak Prescott with absences all around his team, and an unproductive running game, excuse me, let me not do that to Tony Pollard, unproductive starting running back by the name of Ezekiel Elliott is the only thing keeping this thing afloat. Dak Prescott is the only quarterback to rank in the top 5 in passer rating, my favorite stat, completion percentage, and yards per game. Only one. I can give you stat after stat, which I shall, which shows that Dak Prescott has a higher completion percentage. Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes. Rodgers, Mahomes, and Kyler in yards per game. Brady and Mahomes in passer rating. Like, Dak Prescott is like, dude, everything is leaking here. The water hose from the neighborhood. Great tape everywhere. Great tape everywhere. All those leaks. But you know what Dak Prescott is? He's the water pressure, keeping this thing flowing, keeping this thing going. You got to put some respect on Dak Prescott. Coaches out, players are out, offensive players hurting. Still number 1 offense, still number 2 in scoring offense.
Yeah, Dak's not good enough to carry the Cowboys, and it's not a big deal that he's not. I only think 2 quarterbacks are good enough to carry their teams, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. So no indictment on Dak Prescott. It's just a reality. I'm not 6'4". It's not an indictment. It's just a reality. To me, Sel, what is carrying a team look like? Carrying a team looks like Aaron Rodgers going to Arizona on a short week without his 3 of his top 4 wide receivers and winning that game. Carrying a team looks like Aaron Rodgers being 7-0 without his star receiver, Devontae Adams. That's what carrying a team looks like. Carrying a team looks like Tom Brady being 4-2 without first ballot Hall of Famer Rob Gronkowski, his secret weapon, his best friend on the football field. That's what carrying a team looks like. Not carrying a team looks like Matthew Stafford. Robert Woods tears his ACL in practice, always in motion. Robert Woods tears his ACL in practice.
Yo, I nailed that, and I didn't get enough credit. The day before he got hurt, I didn't want to nail it.
At all.
He's always in motion, and he got hurt in motion. Unreal. Continue.
And stop motioning Robert Woods.
Yes.
When he comes back, stop motioning Robert Woods.
We know what he's doing.
We get it. He's going in motion. Just have him point from here on out in practice. That's just dumb.
I'm going over there.
Anyways. Not carrying a team looks like Stafford. He's 0-2 without Robert Woods. Not carrying a team looks like Tannehill. 2-2 without Derrick Henry. Not carrying a team looks like Dak. He's 0-2 without Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. Not carrying a team looks like Dak. He's lost 3 of his last 4 games. Can Dak carry an offense? Absolutely. Can Dak Prescott carry this Cowboys offense to stay top 5 statistically beyond the shadow of a doubt? But there are only 2 quarterbacks right now this year that can carry their team. That's a heavy weight. That's Tom Brady, that's Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, there are only 2? Can I add one more name to it? Because if you're telling me that if you can win without star players, that means you can carry your team, Let's just add Colt McCoy because Kyler Murray's been hurt last few weeks. Colt McCoy's going out there and won a couple games, right? Colt McCoy can carry it. Exactly. Dak Prescott can carry the team. Stop using that as your standard. Coming up, Jim Harbaugh went from being criticized to beating Ohio State. Okay. Tell you if the media owes him an apology. That's next on Speak for Yourself. I see you, Colt, carrying the Cardinals. Welcome back. Don't miss your chance to win $25,000 tonight playing Fox Bet Super 6. Players have won over $5.5 million in cash prizes, and there are winners every week. Scan the QR code right now. Pick the outcomes of 6 NBA games for your shot to win. It's free to play. Michigan is riding high. After finally beating Ohio State a few days ago for the first time under Jim Harbaugh. Harbaugh has been under heavy scrutiny by the media. Yeah, Acho. But his Wolverines have their eyes on the college football playoffs and control their own destiny if they can beat Iowa in the Big Ten Championship Saturday on Fox. So, Acho, does the media owe Jim Harbaugh an apology?
Absolutely not. And I am the media. But Jim Harbaugh's 1-5 versus Ohio State. Michigan beat Ohio State, and we act like they beat an NFL team. Y'all beat college kids ages 8 to 22 like y'all. It was just the bar was set so low because you had lost 5 consecutive to Ohio State that now you jumped over the bar and we cheered as though the bar was incredibly high. Y'all beat a team that y'all are equally matched to. Michigan, y'all some dogs. Don't forget it. Just because Ohio State had y'all's number, like y'all are still Michigan, the Wolverines, a premier college football program, which Jim Harbaugh was 1-5 versus another premier college football program in Ohio State, including losses by 29, 29, and 23. I'm so happy for Jim Harbaugh because he got it done. Took a pay cut and got it done. Yeah. But I have not forgotten that Harbaugh was out there collecting $8 million a year to get stomped by Ohio State for God knows how long. Wow. So give Harbaugh the credit that he deserves now. Get that done. Happy for college football. Happy for Michigan fans. Happy for all of them in the maize and blue. Happy for them. But we don't owe him an apology. We called it like it was then. We calling it like it is now. Yeah. He's doing his thing right now. He wasn't doing his thing back then in comparison to what Urban and Ryan Day were doing at Ohio State. So, I don't think we owe him an apology, but we owe him our honesty right now.
Yes.
We definitely owe him our truth right now. And right now, Harbaugh doing your thing.
I agree with you, but I'm a veer. I'm a detour. But we riding together right now. I agree with you. No, we don't owe him an apology. We just calling it like we see it. It was a struggle to get to this place, but they're here now. And it's funny because we're not dogs. People are not dogs, but we do have name tags. You do know how to call someone and make them say, hey, Jim Harbaugh, suspect, first few years at Michigan. You're not beating the teams you're supposed to beat. Okay, that's his name tag. That's who it is. I say Dave Chappelle to you right now, you say funny, and some other things, right? That's the point. That's his name tag right now. I'm looking at Jim Harbaugh like the name tag right now says, looks impressive. Hasn't always looked that way. Now, let me veer. Because I was riding with you, and then you just made that quick turn. I ain't have my seatbelt on. You ever do that? It's be like, hey, man, I forgot. I told you to be swerving. Judge a man by the distance traveled. You have forgotten where Michigan came from. The day that Jim Harbaugh got to Michigan, Google this up.
I'm not even there.
Jim Harbaugh went to a program that was 46-42 in the 7 seasons before him. They're 42-17 since he got there. You want to know what 46-42 looks like for perspective? Oregon State. Like, he went to Oregon State and now has them in the college football playoffs. So I don't owe him an apology because I wasn't a critic of Jim Harbaugh. But now, since I know that you have been all the way up to this point, apologize to the man because the man did something.
Remember where Ohio State was. Buried in sanctions.
Don't do this.
Buried in sanctions. Jim Tressel and all those scandals there before Urban showed up. And Urban showed up with a team that couldn't even go to post-game ball and went 12-0. I ain't going to feel bad for Jim Harbaugh. I'm just going to call it like it is now. You balling. But you were sorry a while ago. Coming up, Chase Claypool wants music at practice. Head coach Mike Tomlin, yeah, not so much. We'll tell you if Tomlin's keeping it 100 with his response or if he's lying. That's next.
It's like Tomlin's 12th appearance on keeping it 100.
Man, y'all know how we get down on this show. Outside of fighting, we only keep it 100. But others every day, they keep it 99. So we got to get to the bottom of who's telling the truth. Case in point. Talk about them Steelers, man. They lost 2 straight. Star wide receiver Chase Claypool said, well, music would make practice more fun. Head coach Mike Tomlin was asked about it. Y'all take a listen.
Claypool plays wide out, and I'll let him do that. I'll formulate the practice approach, and I think that division of labor is probably appropriate.
Division of labor.
Dog, I would come back and get 10 sacks a game for that man right there. Matter of fact.
Well, Tomlin keeping it 199.
Keeping it 1,000 on this dude. Chase Claypool ain't gonna never want to. He ain't gonna listen to his iPad anymore. His iPod and earbuds, nothing. He ain't gonna listen to music. They say it's not work. It's only work if you'd rather be doing something else. And if you go to practice and you need music to get you fueled up, doesn't sound like your heart's all into practice. Come on, Chase Claypool.
Yeah, but Sal, let me speak on behalf of Chase, because I was with Chip Kelly, and Chip Kelly really brought that music in to practice at the NFL level, because I was with Tomlin also, and he ain't had music for a while. Music does, it just makes you vibe, it gets you right, it makes things looser. If you're going to be sorry, at least be fun and sorry.
Music just makes you feel good when you're nervous. Don't be nervous. Practice better. That's it. Mike Tomlin, my dog. Speak for yourself.